I thank the chairman. First and foremost, let me echo the sentiments of my colleague from Maryland in terms of thanking the chairman and the ranking member for hosting this important hearing, which I think is substantive and concerns an issue for which there seems to be an emerging bipartisan consensus. And so I think that the chairman was very thoughtful in terms of putting this hearing together. And of course, I thank all of the witnesses for their testimony, both the written testimony and their testimony today verbally. My home state, I represent Colorado in the United States Congress, and as you all know, and I believe it's come up once or twice here, that Colorado's been a leader in this regard with respect to right to repair. Last year, our state proudly enacted the right to repair for powered wheelchairs, and this year, the state legislature acted yet again by enacting the first right to repair legislation for agricultural equipment. A really big deal for farmers and ranchers that I represent in northern Colorado, northwest Colorado. They are critical steps, in my view, to protect consumers, improve innovation, spur economic growth, and I'm hopeful that other states will emulate the model that Colorado has adopted, and that, of course, we can take some lessons learned as well here in the United States Congress and potentially pursue this at the federal level. There are many of you who have worked on this. I want to perhaps start with you, Professor Perzanowski, because I know that you played an active role, my understanding, in supporting Colorado's state efforts for right to repair legislation. And I guess I wonder if you might be able to expound a bit on the benefits for our farmers, in particular in the agricultural context. I've listened to some of the debate, I'm a lawyer, so and was a chief regulator in Colorado for many years, so appreciate the very academic, and sort of almost esoteric debate that we've been having in the context of IP patent law and the different theories as to whether or not it permits the kind of right to repair legislation that we've enacted at the state level. But I like to kind of cut through all of that and get to the core of why we're here, which is it's a big deal for our farmers. It's going to have a profound impact, I think, on many of my constituents, and I wonder if you might be able to offer your thoughts, Professor.
Sure, thanks so much. In a lot of instances, this conversation, and we've touched on this earlier, focuses on cost savings, right? And cost savings are an important consideration, right? Farmers aren't thrilled that they have to pay a technician from the John Deere dealer to drive maybe hours to get to their farm and connect their laptop and download these payload files to enable their equipment to work. But in the agricultural space, the thing I hear most often in the conversations I have with farmers is, and Kyle touched on this a bit earlier, is a real concern about the time sensitivity of their work. If your tractor is out of commission for a week or two in the wrong part of the season, that is going to have disastrous effects, right? Not only on that farm's economic outlook, but collectively it can have an impact, not to be hyperbolic here, but on our national food supply. And so I think it's really important that farmers have flexibility in terms of where and how they execute repairs so that they can get their equipment back up and running. If my laptop breaks and I can't get it fixed for a week or two, I'm annoyed. There will be emails that go unanswered, but the world will continue to spin. That is not the case in the agricultural space, where I think we have to be much more concerned.
Thank you, Professor. And I couldn't agree with you more. I wonder, perhaps you can talk about this in the context, and perhaps this has come up previously, of repair manuals. Do you think repair manuals are copyrightable materials?
That's a great question. So I think the copyright in a repair manual, to the extent it exists, is incredibly thin, right? So copyright law does not protect facts. It does not protect ideas. It does not protect systems or processes. And so if you look at most repair manuals, they are describing in very plain, literal language, step-by-step processes for interpreting error codes or replacing a component part. And so I'm pretty skeptical of the copyright claims that we see there. There's not been a whole lot of litigation around repair manuals. There was a case involving Gulfstream, where the court determined that the copying and distribution of those repair manuals was a fair use, and I think that's the right way to resolve that.
I see my time has expired, so I will simply say, with the chairman's indulgence, that I am a champion for the free market. I believe firmly in the competitive marketplace. I think the solutions we're discussing today, and will continue to discuss after the conclusion of today's hearing, are about supporting the free market and ensuring that IP and copyright law is not so distorted that we lose a forest for the trees. Because a lot of Americans out there, to the extent they're watching this hearing, are wondering how in the world a repair manual for a tractor or for a household consumer item could somehow be construed as such through a legal doctrine to as preclude a consumer, a farmer, a citizen from being able to repair that product. So with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman, I think.
Thank the gentleman. Now recognize the ranking member for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a letter from Consumer Reports, a letter